No one told me about her. What could I do? Well, no one told me about her, though they all knew. But it's too late to say you're sorry. How would I know? Why should I care? Please don't bother trying to find her. She's not there. Well, let me tell you about the way she looked, the way she acted, the color of her hair. Her voice was soft and cool, her eyes were clear and bright, but she's not there. But it's too late to say you're sorry. How would I know? Why should I care? Please don't bother trying to find her. She's not there. Well, let me tell you about the way she looked, the way she acted, the color of her hair. Her voice was soft and cool, her eyes were clear and bright, but she's not there.
We'll now hear from Dr. Els Vermeulen from the MRI Whale Unit in South Africa.
Dr. Vermeulen is a research manager of the unit, as well as a member of the IUCN Cetacean Specialist Group and the Scientific Committee.
Along with scientists at the University of Bristol, Dr. Vermeulen coordinated the signing of a letter calling for the protection of whales, dolphins and porpoises last week. The letter was signed over by 350 scientists and conservationists.
Our scientist correspondent Lucy Lipscomb has discussed the matter with Dr. Vermeulen. Here is a snippet of the interview.
Yeah, so it's a long story. I was, as a kid, very passionate about whales and dolphins, I guess like many children are. Pursued the dream and studied biology. Then I started my own NGO in Argentina. As a Belgian, being a Belgian, it was very difficult to get into marine mammal science. Obviously, we very short coastline. So that was very difficult. And also going overseas to study was expensive. And so I decided to start my own little NGO and started to work myself. And then after various years, I started to see that having a PhD would be quite a benefit. I wasn't very much into academia at that point. But I felt very limited in what I could do without the PhD. So converted the work into a PhD, and then still not liking academics, I did fall into a postdoc and a second postdoc, and now as a research manager. And it's funny because I love the research, and obviously I'm passionate about the topic. I'm always a bit struggling with academia and how it's set up, but I am quite hopeful for the future. I feel my generation and a bit younger are feeling the same way, and I hope just that the standard academia setting might change a bit in the future. So yeah, that's long story short and how I got into my business.
I agree about academia, and I think that's why quite a lot of people chose to do our course, because it's very focused on coursework instead of examinations, and all of us come from a science background, so we've been used to doing a lot of examinations, and they just don't suit everyone.
Yeah, I mean, it's academic field, like the universities often work as businesses, and you need to publish or perish, and it's sometimes even literally said it's not about the quality, but it's about the quantity of papers and the quantity of students you enroll. But I'm hopeful again for the future. I think it's changing with more and more people also being involved in academics, and so yeah, not being so elite as it used to be. Yeah, and then the work we've done with the MRI. So as a research manager of whale unit, I'm very much focused on baleen whale research. Our main focus goes on southern right whales, the South African population of right whales, and monitoring the population. And side projects go now on humpback whales and as well as blue whales. We're also going to start next year work on British whales, so trying to diversify a bit. But we have very little means and very little manpower, so it's not always easy.
I can imagine. So just kind of moving on to the letter that's recently been signed, and when I was doing some research about it, it said that over 350 scientists and conservationists had signed it. I'm not sure if this may have changed now.
Yeah, it's 359 at this point.
Oh, so exciting. So we were just wondering if you could tell us a bit more about this letter and also what your involvement has been with it.
So we had a scientific committee meeting of the International Whaling Commission electronically this year because of COVID. So unfortunately, we had less beer time than we used to have. But nonetheless, in the meetings, a lot of the colleagues came to the idea that what we do as scientists is often documenting extinction. We do research and we see the problem and we find out what the problem is, but very little is then actually done with the research. And yeah, so we felt like we need to make a statement that something needs to be happening. We're saying all as scientists that populations are going extinct, and we know for lots of populations of exactly what is going on and what could be done. Obviously not for all of them, but for quite a few we do. And there, you go towards policy. Then the idea arose together with Mark Simmons. He kind of led the whole initiative to create a letter and see how much support we could get from academics and from, let's say the experts in the world on these animals that really research them and understand them, I guess, on the scientific level the best. And yeah, the support was amazing. I mean, I had hoped to get lots of support, but a lot of the big names, are on there, and actually more support than I thought we would get. We were hoping for over 100, so having 350 is quite an achievement, I believe.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it's over 40 countries as well, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
So some of our listeners will probably be thinking, why is it so critical right now that we save the whales, and why does action have to be taken immediately?
Because there are various populations at the immediate brink of extinction. Think about the vaquita, the little porpoise up in Mexico. Think about the North Atlantic right whale, the beige. There's a couple of populations and species that are an imminent threat to extinction. And not many others that are following that path, and where we want to learn the lessons from these populations and species that are very close to extinction, to not let it come so far with other species and populations. For example, Franciscana dolphins, the Atlantic humpback dolphin, species and populations that are declining quite rapidly, that you can't classify yet as near extinct, but if we don't take action, they would be. So it's the idea of let's learn our lessons from the past, where we have known way in advance that populations were declining and what was the cause. And I believe with what we've gone through now in the world with the pandemic, we can see that we're an intrinsic part of nature. And if the natural world doesn't do well, we won't do either. And if we interfere too much, we can, affect our own survival. So I think it's a nice time actually to put things in perspective as humankind. And we do it on behalf of marine mammals, but the idea is that other people will do it on behalf of terrestrial mammals, maybe, or and jointly try to force some action and some change in human behavior and policy.
Definitely. And I think the pandemic has showed that we're so reliant on nature, and I do kind of hope that the good thing that comes is that people realize that we have to protect our environment so much more.
Exactly. Yeah. And it also shows that if policy and politicians put their foot down and said, this is it, this is what we're going to do, the world can stop. Obviously with a lot of economic consequences, and I'm not saying that's what we should do. I'm just saying it is possible. And some more firm action out of government will be required to act against things like global climate change and stuff. It's a interplay between our own behavior as human species as well as decision making from policy.
And kind of leading on from that, what is it that you think that the government would be able to do to be able to help protect whales and dolphins and porpoises?
It's very species specific and very specific to certain regions, but there's overall the biggest threat would be bycatch. Bycatch is huge. Overfishing is a huge problem, as well as pollution. I think those are the three, which includes noise pollution as well, obviously chemical and noise pollution. Bycatch, foremost, especially for the species that are now close to extinction, like the vaquita, like the North Atlantic right whale, where entanglements in fishing gear and ship strikes are huge. So in those species that you know what the exact causes of a decline, there needs to be firm action, there needs to be mitigation against it. We deal enough with populations and species that are affected by cumulative things, which is much more difficult to address. You know, here in South Africa, we deal with the humpback dolphin, the Indian Ocean humpback dolphin that is declining, but we can't pinpoint what the problem is. And if we go to government, they will come back and say, okay, tell us what to do. And honestly, if it's cumulative, it's very, very difficult to say what to do. You know, it's stop everything, stop habitat destruction, stop fishing, stop pollution. These animals can sustain certain things, but when it comes together cumulatively, then conservation becomes very difficult. So I think one of the take-home messages of this letter also needs to be if you have populations or species that are facing one specific problem, then tackle it. It's actually easy to do. Sorry. My 6-month-old is getting hungry.
We promise we won't keep you too much longer.
Yes, I promise him.
Yeah, so we're kind of just almost on to like the final question is how we as students and as the general public can also help with this movement.
Yeah, I think we need all kinds of people, right? We need, as academics doing research, we need people in NGOs and more activist people that start putting pressure on and creating awareness in communities. So it really depends where your interest lies. You know, do you want to do research, then join the group. If you want to be more in that policy field, then, you know, that's highly needed. If you're more interested in, you know, in being a conservation NGO and doing the awareness and that is also very much needed. So you can do a hell of a lot of things. And I think you can only do it when you're passionate enough, because none of it is a good income. So I always tell people, especially students of mine, be very passionate about what you do and you'll do it good. And you'll make a difference. But you have to have, you know, the balance between your passion and, you know, what makes the difference. So really feel where your own interest lies and link it up, you know. It's not just about science, it's not just about policy, and it's not just about awareness. It's an interplay of all of it, and we need all of it.
Oh, absolutely.
What a brilliant and inspiring interview. Thank you, Dr. Vermeulen, for your time and expertise.
And up next, we've got a song in tune with October and Halloween. Juviphonic version of Spooky Scary Skeletons.
But I
Japan's white-spotted pufferfish are renowned for producing complex ringed patterns in the sand.
Today, 5,500 kilometers away in Australia, scientists have found dozens of these new creations.
While conducting a survey on Australia's northwest shelf, marine ecologist Todd Bond spotted a striking pattern on the sand about 100 meters deep.
Bond and his colleagues continued the survey, ultimately finding nearly 24 more.
Until Bond's discovery, these undersea crop circles could only be found off the coast of Japan.
These circles were first spotted in the 1990s. In fact, it took 2 decades to solve the mystery of what created them. It was only in 2011 that scientists finally found the sculptors, the Tokigenov pufferfish.
Up to this day, there is still no video confirmation that pufferfish are building these nests in Australia. However, the structures are nearly identical to those in Japan.
Let's hear more on this from our science correspondent, Dominic Waters.
For a long time, divers were finding these complex geometric formations on the seabed, but no one knew where these intricate designs originated. The designs the divers were finding were about 2 meters in diameter and looked quite similar to mandalas drawn in the sand. Their details were formed of sediment, carefully pushed into ridges, which together formed complex circular patterns and which were decorated with shells. The result was quite beautiful, and from the level of complexity, it's clear to observers that some sort of process or creator must be at work in their formation. However, for a long time, the failure to find its origins created quite a mystery behind these structures. As a result, they have often been described as underwater crop circles. However, just like we found with crop circles on the land, the origins were not extraterrestrial activity. Instead, it was the work of a pufferfish trying to attract a mate. The behavior first documented by a photographer named Yoji Ukata served as an elaborate mating ritual for a fish that would otherwise be invisible on the sea floor. The pufferfish are dull-looking, almost to the point of invisibility when contrasted against the similarly dull seabed. Although in terms of predators this is a big advantage for pufferfish, when it comes to finding a mate in the vast ocean, not standing out becomes a problem. Unfortunately for pufferfish, in the sea Tinder isn't an option, and so when it comes to finding partners, they are forced to get a little bit more creative. The pufferfish's solution is to design these beautiful circular structures which female pufferfish are attracted to. To make their designs, males laboriously flap their tiny fin as they swim along the sea floor to disrupt the sediment. Measuring only a few inches in length and working against sea current that threaten to take their construction away, the pufferfish must work 24 hours a day for a week to get their designs completed. It's a lot of work to attract a mate. However, the results are quite glorious. When the circles are finished, females come to inspect them. Only if his craftsmanship is good enough will she choose to mate with the male. Scientists think that the female fish are attracted to the hills and valleys within the sand and transverse them carefully to discover the male fish, where if the female is impressed enough, the pair will eventually lay their eggs at the circle's centre. Scientists also believe that the grooves later act as a natural buffer to ocean currents that protect delicate offspring. The Japanese pufferfish, according to David Attenborough, nature's greatest artist. It's certainly hard to think of somewhere else in nature where an animal constructs something so complex and perfect as they do.
Oh, what a story. Thank you, Dominic.
And now for another song. The next one is our last night version of Dark Horse by Katy Perry.
The train! Choose carefully, 'cause I'm capable of anything, and everything. Make me your Cupid, baby. Make me your one and only. But don't make me your enemy, your enemy, your enemy. So you wanna play with magic? Girl, you should know what you're falling for. Baby, do you dare to do this? 'Cause I'm coming at you like a dark horse. yes or a no, no, maybe. So just be sure before you give it all to me. It all to me. Give it all to me. So you wanna play with magic? Girl, you should know what you're falling for. Baby, do you dare to do this? 'Cause I'm coming at you like a dark horse. Are you ready for a perfect storm, perfect storm? 'Cause what's your mind, what's your mind? There's no going back. She's a beast, I call her karma. So lay your heart out like Jeffrey Dahmer. Be careful, try not to let her run. Short sons on steroids, 'cause her love is so strong. Tell me I love her, shorty so bad, I'm throwing it, I don't care. She ride me like a roller coaster, turn the bedroom into a fair. Her love is like a drug, I was trying to hit and quit it, but little mama's so dope, I messed around and got addicted. So you wanna play with magic? Girl, you should know what you're falling for. Baby, do you dare to do this? 'Cause I'm coming at you like a dark horse. Are you ready for a perfect storm, perfect storm, perfect storm? 'Cause what's your mind, what's your mind? There's no going back.
With a reputation for standoffishness, cats are tough animals to bond with.
This might be because you just don't speak their language.
In fact, recent research has shown that any cat owner can resolve this issue in a matter of minutes with simple signals.
Have you noticed that your cat doesn't react to your smiling? That's because the cat way of smiling is by blinking slowly.
This blinking motion makes cats more receptive to humans.
A psychologist from the University of Sussex, Karen Macomb, explains in an interview her enthusiasm in finding common grounds in terms of language between cats and humans.
Let's hear more about the research from our science correspondent, Dominic Waters.
A team of psychologists at the University of Sussex in Portsmouth have been investigating the art of building bonds with cats. Their new study, The Role of Cat-Eye Narrowing Movements in Cat-Human Communication, has shown for the first time that it is possible to build rapport with cats by using the eye narrowing technique with them, also popularly known as the cat smile or the slow blink. The slow blink sequence is a series of half blinks, where the eyelids move towards each other without ever fully closing the eye, followed by either a prolonged narrowing of the eye aperture or a full eye closure. The slow blink is said to make humans more attractive to cats, though previous to the experiment this was just an anecdotal claim. Having more confidence in the significance of the slow blink is important for our relationship with cats. As companion animals, cats end up spending far more of their lives with humans than they do with their own species, and as such, we become their key social partners. And because of this, the ability to engage in communication between the species has a big adaptive advantage for cats. This communication doesn't just include cats reading human social cues, but also includes the social cues that are usually directed at humans from our cats. The most notable example of this is probably the cat's use of purring to grab our attention and communicate affection. A team led by Dr. Tasmin Humphrey and Professor Karen Macomb, animal behavioural scientists at the University of Sussex, undertook 2 experiments to explore the significance of the slow blink in human-cat interactions. In the first experiment, they examined whether cats responded to human-initiated slow blink stimuli with slow blink sequences of their own. Essentially, the experimenter would slow blink at the cat, and they would look to see if the cat would slow blink back. And in the second experiment, they investigated whether cats were more likely to approach an unknown experimenter after a slow blink interaction. The studies found 3 things. Firstly, cats were more likely to slow blink at their owners if their owners had slow blinked at them. Secondly, cats were more likely to slow blink when an unfamiliar experimenter slow blinked at them. Thirdly, cats preferred to approach an experimenter after they had slow blinked at the cat than if they had maintained a neutral expression. So to summarise, if you want to make close friends with your cat, try slow blink at it.
So, Daniel, what do you think about this new research? Do you have any experience with cats?
Actually, yes, I've been looking at my cat for years, but no science had ever backed out that claim. I'm glad it's finally done.
Well, that's good to know. Let's have some more music now. What's up next?
My next pick is David Hyde version of World Without You by Hudson Taylor.
You don't know what you've been missing out on. I've been waiting around for you to call. You don't know what you've been missing out on. You know I'm not a ghost, just come around. If I'd listened to that fortune cookie wisdom, I'd have been a whole lot better off. But still I live with this constant light on to show you the way back home. Do you know what it feels like to fall in your arms? Do you know what it feels like to love you? I can taste every teardrop you've given me this far. Don't forget who it is that you are. Just take a glass on who to be friends with. 'Cause now I know you're with them. We are not just Sunday love. You say I walk the walk but don't talk it. But all in all you just left me out. 'Cause don't you know that I'm nothing without you? I'm just suffering for you now. Oh, do you know what it feels like to fall in your arms? Do you know what it feels like to love you? I can taste every teardrop you've given me this far. Don't forget who it is that you are. A world without you, what would I do? What would I do without you? A world without you, what would I do? What would I do without you? Do you know what it feels like to fall in your arms? Do you know what it feels like to love you? I can taste every teardrop you've given me this far. Don't forget who it is that you are.
Well, that's all from us today. Thank you so much to all of our contributors today, and of course to Daniel for your tunes.
If you're a musician and you want us to play your stuff, please let us know in the comments. We're always too happy to feature artists.
And thank you to all of our listeners for joining us in Science at 1. We really hope you've enjoyed our animal special this week.
Coming back next week at the same time, we will be exploring science connection to Black history and recognizing the individuals that have been left out of the conversation.
Thanks for listening, and it's a goodbye from us.